Welcome to Bro Talk, and pleased to invite a friend to me today. I've got James, Steve, and Marlon. Welcome, chaps.
Thank you. Welcome to you as well.
And we're here to talk about the forthcoming event, the Manwell Cup, on Saturday, the 29th of March. So, James, the saying goes that men do not talk. Is that true?
Who wants to start? You want me to start?
That's it. Well, it is a myth, although it does come with some truth, whereby us men find it difficult to talk about things of importance, or if we're struggling, facing stress, we find it very easy to talk about work or football. But when there's things that's affecting our mental health, we tend to deal with that alone. I know I've certainly done that in the past, whereby people ask me, how you doing? And I've probably got work stresses or relationship stresses or children. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. Mainly because I didn't feel comfortable, or I just didn't feel that person wanted to know about it. So, yeah, speak about Liverpool and how we're going to win the league. Well, yeah, but someone will ask me, but how, Gary, how are you really doing? It's different. It's a different question. How do you find that?
No, I think you're right. I think the problem is trust as well. If you say something to someone and you don't trust them, you've got to be in the right environment. And you said it earlier on, a safe space as well. I choose very carefully who I talk to about certain things. I don't know if the other guys agree with me on that, but it depends who you are talking to. But I don't agree that men don't talk. They do talk. It just depends on who it is too. Yeah.
Do you find that you're able to talk more in Mallorca? I don't even know how long. Did you live in England?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
For how long? 4 maybe.
They're going to know my age. 34 years I was in England for.
Because I think the reason why I asked that is because one thing I found is that since coming to Mallorca, I personally feel like I've met a more open group of men to talk to about stuff, but not necessarily like that. My friends in England weren't able to have conversations with, but they certainly, I found people being more open over here. I don't know whether that's a bit of, we've all got that perhaps adventurous spirit in us that gets us over here, and we're quite extrovert. So we're able to have conversations just sort of naturally and flowing. Whereas back in England, it just seemed like in the local towns and villages, they didn't want to talk about stuff quite so much, and they'd sweep it under the carpet because they didn't want the family at the next house to know what their business was.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Does anyone else relate to that, or is it just me?
No, I think you've got a point. Again, I think that it depends on who you're talking to, but I think we're all here for various reasons as well. I think we're here in Mallorca because of maybe what didn't go right in the UK. Maybe we wanted a better life for ourselves, our children, and maybe we've got a connection to everyone because of that. We're here, we're here because of that reason, so we connect there. So I don't know. It's just a suggestion. I don't know, James, do you agree or disagree with that?
No, I think definitely a good point. I think it seems to be a moment in history, I suppose, where men are opening up a lot more.
It's a lot more acceptable now, isn't it?
A lot more acceptable. Yeah. And there's obviously a lot going on at the time, and men being a little bit perhaps demasculated with the rise of perceived masculine traits in females, career options, and
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you moisturise?
I do.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
I moisturise. Do you moisturise?
I've got black skin already.
I'm just saying, it's about masculinity. You're right, we've just broken that down completely. Right? Do you moisturise?
Yeah.
There you go.
No.
Not as masculine as we think we are.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day that was talking about toxic masculinity, and when they broke it back down again, it's just masculinity. It's not just toxic.
Sorry, that was my train of thought when you were saying that.
What we class as stereotypical gene traits, male and female, was very clear. It was perhaps clearer in the past, perceived as sexist now. The bearer of the child takes care of the child. The hunter-gatherer in us, hunts and gathers for food, brings that home to feed family. And I think that's been really distorted over over recent years, and I think that's perhaps why men are so much, perhaps a little bit more lost now. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not so clear cut as that.
Yeah, next to the word lost, I would say also confused.
Yeah.
And it's so more difficult now to define what it means to be a man, in good ways and also less good ways, because it's not, as you said, it's not as straightforward as it would have been 20, 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. This is what you do. So whilst there's been an emphasis on women becoming more empowered, which is right, has there been a disempowering of men? Which is led to us thinking, well, what does it now mean to be a man?
Well, you've almost got to whisper the words now, haven't you? Because it's almost sexist to even talk about it in a similar aspect of racism. You know, it's almost perceived as being racist to talk about racism. Do you know what I mean? I think everybody's lost, be it females and males. You know, I think there was a study done with high achieving executive females, and I think it was high in men as well, but the results were when they interviewed thousands of female executives, and 100% of the response rate was they regretted they pushed towards a professional career to that extremity, and not focusing on family. And I think that's perhaps something that's interesting. 100% it was. Same start with the men now seeking counselling and psychological support. I believe it's flipped around now, it's like 70% men are seeking counsellors, support groups, and other ways. I think it's doubled over the past 6 years, double, up to 70%. I think everybody's just confused a little bit out there.
Go back 50 years ago, this would have been a Tupperware party.
Yeah. And I think the key point at the moment is to not let it affect the next generation, because obviously you've got archetype roles. While we're all confused, perhaps nobody's taking either role. Or the key parent or the key forager. You know,
third lines, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone's doing school well. Everyone's doing shopping and taking things on. Doing jobs.
But yet, still working with young people, boys would say, I'm not going to cry. Boys don't cry. I'm like, well, it's the 21st century. The men are becoming more modern in terms of more hands-on parenting. But still, a lot of them are carrying that script. Boys do not cry. And we also say, as men, don't we? So, don't be such a girl. Oh, come on. So that implies that girls are softer, more sensitive, guys are harder, guys are stronger.
Yeah, I think that comes from terminology, isn't it? It's a question of terminology almost. The feeling behind it was exactly the same. It's just that terminology's changed and you have to be very careful about what you say, like you were saying, James, about, with things involving sexism in particular at the moment. It's a very hot topic. You've got to be very careful.
But if we're saying, I agree with terminology, but there's meaning behind terminology. If we're saying, don't be such a girl, and often stronger legs than that, then that's not going to encourage a guy who's in that group, who's carrying something to share. Because you think, well, I'm going to come across as a girl or weak. So there's no way.
No, I mean, I think sharing is important. They say sharing is caring, and it is, because if you don't share your problems, how can you solve a problem? I think men have problems just like women. What James was saying, the roles of men and women have changed. However, if you go back to like basic biology, women can have children, men are strong. If you think a child will still go to their mum for nurturing and for feeling loved, and the man will still do the jobs like picking things up. I don't know, in my house it's like, right, here's the gas bowls, you go and do it. Oh, he's really sad, mummy cuddles him. I think there's still that element to men and women, but I think it's not, we should embrace that. I know I was making a joke about moisture. We should embrace them as well. We should embrace them, because I think if we don't, we've got problems. I do think we've gone too PC. You have to be very careful with what you say. I mean, being a teacher, I've got to be careful what I say. I can't say, to the boy who gets really upset, I'll stop being a girl, because I'm being watched.
Why are we saying that? Because that is the perception say that girls are soft.
But that's what I'm saying. It's habitual. It comes from the bit that we learn that terminology from. Not necessarily that's what the meaning is. It's just that's the terminology. That's what it gets.
It's not belief behind it because we're saying you being like that is in girl box.
Yeah, and if we go back to the chauvinistic now, it would be like stop being such a woman and all this kind of stuff.
So generally, you don't think there's anything to do with genealogy that supports that?
Mm.
But
It's not just a perception. It's perhaps a timestamp reality that perhaps the different genes that we carry different traits. I'm not saying that doesn't mean that a man can't cry anything up or a woman can't not cry and repress our emotions, but I think in all animals the different sexes carry different traits, and I think perhaps that may lead. I don't know. I would guess that would lead a little bit more to.
I think you're right. I think the frustrating thing from my perspective is the rise in feminism or whatever it is at the moment. It's well and good, but there are these other things that like 90% of men probably make roads. 90% of men probably make the cars that you drive on roads. Mm-hmm. So there's all these things that attribute to that. I guess the bigger overriding thing is that we also have to recognise the values that the women bring into society as well. So the women at the moment are more kind of like, oh, we want more women, top paid jobs, and I suppose they're gunning for being maybe looked down upon by men for all these years because that's in their back catalogue. But I just wish it was more like a general understanding that we all complement each other. There's elements and qualities of being female, and that are really, really strong with, my God, childbirth for one. Mm-hmm. And then, men on their own wouldn't be able to have kids anyway. So it's just this whole thing of like, this kind of team effort has been lost. It's become very divisive.
Yeah.
Polarized, actually.
And then I think you're absolutely right, complement each other, the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
The soft and the hard.
Yeah, I agree that to a small degree on the challenge. Because if you say the soft and the hard, mm-hmm. I've seen men break down in tears, and I've seen women suppress their emotions, and for different reasons. And I believe essentially, whether we're male or female, we are human beings, we're emotional beings, and the fact that we are told from very young that guys, you suppress your emotions, and we don't, we just get angry. That show it within in a different way, mm-hmm. in terms of not speaking, not sharing, like, oh, don't be so soft, no, come on, go for it. And it's because we've been told you don't go there, isn't it? Yet the suicide rates, the stress, the addiction to alcohol and drugs tell us that we need a space, but we're not promoting a space, and this is how we're allowed to express it. Mm-hmm. Whereas women suffer with stress less because they do speak. Mm-hmm. They find it not natural. Well, in terms of men,
it's more of a and I'm not saying it's eradicated now, but I think I'm hoping it's a generational thing that's perhaps kept
the age group between 45 to 55. This is most men is the highest suicide.
I can completely. What age?
So 45, 55. That's when we've got pressures. Mortgage, kids, everything.
And also the biggest killer.
Yeah.
My dad's exactly the stereotypical version of what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
I don't know about your fathers, but I think this is proof. I'd like to hope that this is proof in the pudding that there's hope for change and is hopefully in action now.
I hope my dad's later years, it's definitely more encouraged by me. And he did open up when I was younger. I probably had more intimate, vulnerable conversation with my granddad, my dad's dad, than I did with my dad.
From your side to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was able to tell him anything.
Cool. That's what I mean, our generation. Like I said, I'm not saying it's eradicated. Yeah. It's almost it's the same as everything. It's an evolution. It's not a destination. Yeah. It's not a case of now men are opening up now met female women who are opening up and everything's resolved.
Mm.
You know, it's sort of like they say about racism, don't they? The way to end racism is stop talking about. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's blind hope.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's there. Me and my sister talk about. Me and my sister were completely polar opposites with this. You know, we had a conversation about it last week, and it doesn't get heated, but we're just completely opposite sides, and I just can't share the fact that when I was looking for qualities in my partner, and my partner was looking for qualities in a partner, we were both after completely different things.
Okay.
You know, and maybe I'm blindsided for tradition and archetypes like we were talking about with that, but I wasn't. I was looking for somebody I was looking for, and this is one of the bloodlines coming, I was looking for those perceived feminine qualities.
Yeah.
And also, I believe my wife was looking for the perceived, and this is where the bloodlines are for me, is if it was just me and her, I would be the one that was to go out and find food.
Yeah.
And Sammy would be the one that would nurture for the child.
Yeah.
And that's genetics.
Exactly. No, you're right.
And I really, like I said, loads of deep conversations with my sister about this, because she's like, as far as my sister's concerned, I am the poster boy for white privilege man.
Okay.
Which is, I get it. I get your opinion. But that's, I feel like sometimes that's just like throwing names out there a little bit. Do you know what I mean? What I'm supposed to feel ashamed that I'm white and 6'4".
Yeah.
Sorry. Do you know what I mean?
And with that, if they're encouraging men to open up, and I'll say now, so it's fairly traditional. Sarah is the home, though she works as well. So we have clear, divided roles. However, not too long ago, I'm having a meeting with Sarah and Rachel when we was talking about the plans for the year, etc. And I said, things need to change because otherwise I'm heading for a burnout. And that's quite a big thing to say and vulnerable. Neither of them responded. And later on that day, I said to Sarah, I said, if you had said that, or a female had said that, you would have been, oh gosh, what's going to be okay? But it's like they didn't know what to do with it. And I kind of put it out there as a nugget as well to see how would they respond. I'm thinking, that's me being a bit vulnerable with two females. So what I'm leading towards is when men are vulnerable with their female spouses in a heterosexual relationship, how do we receive it? Is it like, oh, I'm really pleased you opened up to me? Or is it, well, I expect to be strong for me. I feel uncomfortable with this because you should make me feel safe, but this is not to make me feel safe. Because they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, you're right. There's a limit to how much vulnerability you can probably show in some respects still.
So to challenge that, is that a business issue, or is that a family issue?
Oh, what, in terms of them
not knowing what to say?
I think it's about a female issue. I do believe if a female said that in the same context, they would have responded. But it almost, they didn't know what to do with it.
Is that also because they're used to, you're so much and they're used to you doing it? So it was almost like deceptive hearing. When you said it, they weren't really registering the fact that there's an alarm bell going off here. I need help. That was your kind of like life jacket. You need to do something to reel me back in, to save me from being burnt out, which is obviously an issue that you wanted to get out there. I mean, was that the first time you said it to Sarah, or?
Because first I said in that environment, so would that make me feel comfortable to say in future if that was the case? No. So I'm speaking for men who probably tested it. If you get a response saying, but it could be from a guy as well, but thought, I'm not going back there again. I'm now close because I didn't feel safe saying it. I made myself slightly vulnerable.
Yeah.
That was the response I got.
Yeah.
But you get it with guys as well. They reach out to guys, and they'll change the subject, or
guys are great at that. It's great.
I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this.
I feel really, really sad Oh yeah, anyway, what? I get it. I've been in that situation so many times.
People just glaze over.
Yeah, they're not interested in because they don't know what to say to
They
you.
don't know what to do, but they don't care.
Yeah,
But it's, I don't know what to do with this, and this is making me feel uncomfortable, and everybody wants to get back to comfort zone as quickly as possible.
Because it's more natural for women to do it. However, obviously in your situation, you probably expected them to go, really? And drop everything. They didn't, so you were
I didn't
shocked.
expect that much. I expected like some form of especially if you're in a class of business. But no, but it is that degree of what to say in place. But it is so powerful to call an occasion whereby when you do speak with someone, they don't necessarily have to solve a problem, but just sharing it off, sharing it with someone who you trust, has shown understanding, you walk away with great, feeling good. And to use you as an example, Marlon, this is the first time I've reached out to a guy on this island. Intentionally, I've had intimate conversation with Steve, and it was with a lady in our team who later went to pass from cancer and from leukemia. And it was a Saturday, and I knew the next day her husband was going to get the call to say, we need to turn the machine on. And it was reality, though. We're going to lose her. And I remember Marlon picked up that I was reaching out, it wasn't direct, and he says, do you want to meet? And I said, yes, please. We then met a little grill, and I shared with you what I was going through. But for me, that was a big deal. Equally, I was grateful, but you were there for me, changed your plans. And I was so appreciative. I went home feeling better. No, but okay, I've been able to be vulnerable regards to my fears for tomorrow when they say she's got to pass.
Yeah, it's an awful thing to have to do.
And you just need one person. You don't need a gang.
Well, it's like Mom said, and that is that thing, isn't it? It's well saying a problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah.
And that is so true. Think about all the moments that I've had where, you actually just get that off your chest. It's not even about the content of what you're getting off your chest. It's just the fact that you're just getting it off your chest. It's releasing somewhere.
I suppose it's a lot more accessible with men reading up. Men speaking to them because they can relate to each other's issues. Because I've got really blurred lines with that.
How do you mean?
Well, because the ultimate goal should be opening up, sharing your problems, be it with a male or female, or do you own a dog or cat? God, the earth, or whatever, do you know what I mean?
Do you mean how much you can
opening up, just opening up. Like I said, when we started on the men and these archetypes, I struggled to sort of to get the balance of what focus was with the ManWell side of it, because I do believe that we should just be sharing, being male and female, but then thinking about it then is obviously we can relate to each other a lot easier. And if people are, I'm quite an open person. I'm lucky that I do have a lot of people. So I've always been open. And that's the hippie in me or the drugs that I took at the time or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, I can completely see, reflecting then that if it's easier for men to perhaps open up to men as a starting ground, because the ultimate goal surely is to reopen up to all partners.
or anyone,
Or anybody. The lady in my life, most important, soon to be the most important person in my life, because my wife's pregnant. Sammy's the most important person. So although I completely respect that, the big problem the challenge is to get everybody to open up, start remember, because that's the focus of the group. Surely the ultimate goal is to share those experiences with your partner and reconnect with that.
I think that will help though.
Because
if they can help deal with what they might consider to be male issues, then in their own partnerships, just by virtue of the fact that they realise that they're not an alien, they can just actually express what they're trying to get across in a manner in which the other person might have said, well, maybe if you say like this, or maybe if you talk about whatever.
That is our go-to person, though, isn't it? Our partners, our wives. That is the first person that we will go to if there is a situation or problem. And I'll go to my wife straight away. But I think what Gary's trying to say is that sometimes, you know, you talk about genetics. Yes, that is also a problem as well, because we feel the same, you know, like when we get angry, we're probably getting angry over something very similar. You know, when we get sad, it could be similar. I mean, I you know, said about crying. I can't remember the last time I cried. I don't mean that. I mean like, proper cry. Probably when my dad was ill, like really, really cried. And that's a long, like, you know, that's quite a while ago. But you know, there were probably times where I have cried for happiness, but sad. You know, there are times I felt like cried, really cried, and I haven't. So I don't know why that is. Is that a gene thing? Is that because I'm a man? Not just women can turn it on. You know, no. What I mean is like if I edit that, take it out.
Marlon,
you cannot, if I say something to my wife and it's not maybe taken in the right context, it can upset her, and that's not good. Whereas I get affected by it, but I might not cry, and maybe I should sometimes. I don't know. Would I feel better crying? Does crying help you?
It's a release, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, it's part of the human anatomy. That's part of the reason why you cry. There you go. It's a fear indicator, isn't it? As well. Or at least, you know, going back to when people were cavemen, probably. I assume it'd be like, oh, if something's really painful, you're going to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggle with tears.
Yeah.
I say that watch because I've got 3 daughters signed up watching going movies.
Yeah.
And romantic movies that I would just feel emotional. But real life situations, I want to cry similar to you, and I find it hard. And it's not because I want to say I'm a man, I don't cry. It just doesn't come.
And you put that down to genetic makeup or to you as a person, or?
I would say, if we're going deep, it's to do with the trauma that I had when I was young, and I then taught myself I'm not crying. Yeah.
So like on my side,
it's not tough.
because I cry all the time, but I don't feel healed.
Okay.
So like me and you, let's say, and this is where the blurred lines come on a counselling context for me. Because I've learned something just off this 20-minute conversation there, because you sort of see everybody's the same as you to a certain degree. Behind closed doors, let's say.
Yeah.
So you think that if you did cry more, you think that's a good trait always, be it male or female, or it's a good trait for the person individually?
I think if you're in touch with your emotions, that can only be a positive thing, no?
Yeah.
It depends on, it's all relative to who you are in you as a person.
Yeah.
If that helps you, then great. And if you're okay without not crying, right?
Yeah.
You feel like you're lacking emotion.
I can use an example. This is probably a bit personal now. My wife's father passed away 9 years ago. It was her father's anniversary, and she got really upset. And I really wanted to release and cry, but then I found 1 or 2 days later, rather than crying, I got angry at that stuff, and that was my release. And then who gets affected by that is my wife. So really, I should have probably cried with her and released it. As Steve said, that release would have helped me. I probably would have been angry then. And then instead, it turns into this tornado, and I'm thinking, what's going on? Why am I getting angry about everything? And I realised, and you know, you're spot on. If I had released then, I would have felt better, and I didn't. And that's the problem, is I couldn't just turn it on. And I wish I could. Now, you said that you do cry a lot, which is great, but then you're saying that you don't feel
healed.
No. So there's an issue there as well, isn't there? There's something.
Different people.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I would say issue. I would say that crying is not enough to be fully healed, but it is part of the process.
Because you have to cry.
I wouldn't say you have to, but it is a form of release. Whether it's tears of joy, or tears of sadness, or tears of anger. It is the body, the biological is taking over, and it's saying, I need to express myself through the tears. And people who struggle to cry, like myself, there's a blockage. I don't know if you've seen the film, I've got girls, The Holiday.
Yeah, of course.
What's her name? Cameron Diaz.
She could have fought with Barry Clark.
That's what he finds in
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
She could have cried.
Well, my actually,
Stay away from finding
Yeah, but she couldn't cry.
yeah,
And it's to do with her parents' divorce. And she didn't, she did everything to try and cry, and it was blocked. So subconsciously we could tell ourselves we don't go there. But like you said, we can go and smash something up. I'm not saying you did that, but we'll release it in a different way.
No. Yeah, anger is something that I struggle with a lot, and that's probably my downfall is that I get angry about things. I don't just mean like trivial things. I can get angry about anything, and that's a problem for me. I would rather be like you and be able to cry it off and then move on than get angry, because I find that anger just it consumes you more. I think crying is that Steve, right? That release, you feel better. You know, when you need. This is not probably the best analogy. You need to go to the toilet. You do your number one. You feel great, and it's the same. It's coming on. I don't know. I wish I could. I'm like Gary. I just don't know why I can't do it.
Permission to go there. You think it's anything to do with losing your mum at an early age, and then I'm not having
cried all the time. Yeah, absolutely. You're just spot on.
what you did.
Yeah. Cried all the time. Cried everything. Last time I really cried was like really bucked to tears before my wife's father passed away. Everything came out. I think I was crying like continuously. But since I don't know, it's hard to
Do you
really.
feel like also like the older you get in life, the more experiences like that you go through?
Yeah.
You start building up that wall, and that threshold gets higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
You get used to that. Not that you should necessarily have to, but you just do. Experience takes over.
Yeah.
Because my concern is what you just said, Steve. What's it going to take for me to cry? And I don't want it to be something very, very serious, that the tears like the loss of a loved one or grief.
Do you mean both sides though? Tears of joy and tears of anguish, or are you talking about being?
I'm talking about tears of anguish. So the tears are there. I watch a movie.
Yeah.
I love romantic movies. I love the end of the storyline, and I'll be like, turn around, like, there'll be a little tear there. But in terms of tears of real life, where it would be justified to cry.
Well, I'm sure when your daughters get married, you'll cry.
Well, you said that you must be tears. Carys come to Australia, Kira's going to Thailand. I didn't cry with Carys. Carys has been floods of tears. My daughter's going. Don't know if I'm going to see her again. But it just wasn't in there to cry.
You packed the suitcase, didn't you? You did a little dad dance.
Believe me, it cost you more than they actually care. Something I realised. But it's the point is having that. If you do want to cry, you can cry. You know, it's going to happen when you can't turn on. And I feel like you said, but it's knowing that it's okay. It's fine. You're not less of a human being. You're not less of a man. You're not a girl. You're not sensitive. It's just release.
Just talking about crying, I know we're probably exhausted this one.
No,
if you saw, right, so let's just do a scenario. You saw James crying, what would you do? What would be your first thing to do?
My natural response would be to go up to him and say, James, are you okay? Clearly, I know it's not okay, but that would be my natural response. And I'll probably put my arm there.
Yeah.
I like to reach up, but yeah. But that'd be my, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
If I've just seen them looking down, when I play football, I look at who's switched on, who's struggling, who may be not, and I'll say to them after, are you okay? Or I'll send them a text message, you didn't see yourself tonight. Just want to check it, I could be wrong. Oh, you're okay.
I know we forget that. You know what? I know we forget that. We're getting that. And I'd say the same as Gary. I'd say, you okay? But I know there's a lot of people that would turn around and do a 180 and go the other way.
Yeah, definitely.
They wouldn't want to get into that because they got lost.
Not everyone's like you, James.
Really arrogant. Really ignorant.
That's what I was just saying. We start working with each other, and I say to you often, you are not the norm.
Okay.
Your passion for people's well-being and promoting good health, mentally, emotionally, physically, is not the norm, especially in a work environment.
No, I get the working environment. Just didn't realise, the extremity of the personal side, perhaps.
Well, I think what you established today is that, like they have counselling in probably California for like laughing therapy, we should probably do crying therapy. Well, don't know how you do that.
One of the guys that we know, I won't mention his name, and he went to a place in London. They didn't tell you until the day. And it's other men you do not know, and it's like a large warehouse with furniture, and you can just go in there and do you like smash things off, right? Whatever you need to do. Bitch. Yeah,
He's right.
I'll get the tears out.
That was rehearsed, wasn't it?
Very nice. Yeah, they just release.
I've done a similar one.
Have you?
Yeah.
Did it help?
Yeah. Ours was a little bit more intimate. Like it was after a deep meditation session, we got like almost punch bags out for the floor,
Okay.
and everybody was in independence, but released to tried to put us into like some people, because I went with other men, some people just to do with their fathers, just to do with their mother themselves, just that and the other, and
Powerful.
yeah.
And just go back to football because it's relevant. Reading Football Club, I saw it a couple of weeks ago, and the owner of the club, or the chairman, he's very much into mental health, and he plus 3 other players were talking in a circle like us, and they had to call somebody, a friend, who'd never been in contact with them for a while, and they did it live. And they called a friend and said, "Hi mate, how you doing? Sorry I haven't been in contact, life just gets in the way, but want you to know I'm thinking of you." They didn't know they were being recorded, a friend on the other end, and they were sharing, and it was just so emotional. And after I said, how did you feel? It was like, well, I just felt this love. And I was just thinking, why don't we do this more often? And I felt that connection. And it's just simply say, just check and see how you're doing.
Mm-hmm. So that's all it needs, isn't it?
Simple, but so meaningful.
Yeah.
And needed. Yeah, to know that somebody is calling you because they want something from you. I'm just saying, are you doing okay? You've been on my mind.
Yeah.
Checking.
Just checking in, that's all you need to do.
So, Steve, you were the brains behind the ManWell Cup in terms of the name and the legacy. How would you say it's developed over the years in terms of men becoming more open to share?
Well, we've, I wouldn't say broken the ice. Well, we have broken the ice. We haven't broken the glass ceiling yet, that's for sure. I think we're on the right path, though. Definitely, we're getting more people talking about their emotions. I think the event itself is inspiring a lot of interest from all different types of companies. And I think this year, especially, is widening the net to a bigger demographic of people that are going to come in. So that can only be a good thing. As we first intended it, it's become a bit of a legacy event for us, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Something that we're all proud to be part of. Everyone's proud to be part of it. Everyone who's contributing, the sponsors, the players, their families that are now coming along too. It's just a lovely, I think, nourishing thing, and a centre focus in Calvia, southwest of Mallorca, which is what this event in particular gives us the opportunity to do. So, no, I'm really pleased in the way in which it's going. I think it's only going to get more momentum as the years go on. And we're starting to address some of the myths and, some of the things that people sometimes take for granted, perhaps, in modern day life. So I'm really pleased with the way it's going. It's exactly what the kind of thing that I wanted it to be when we first came up with the idea.
Brilliant.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Both of you. Congratulations.
And it's people being vulnerable, the guys about speaking at the events, and people who will often look at someone, don't they, and say, oh, they've got it all together. And then when they share their story, like, wow, I didn't realise they've been through this or they're going through that. And it gives encouragement to others to know you're not on your own and there is a way forward together.
Yeah, definitely.
And going back to the point you said earlier, James, it's our spouse should be our first point of call. There are some issues that, not that we want to speak, so I feel I'd want to speak to a guy about.
Okay, yeah.
Just like, this is the guy. The same way I know there's issues there we'd want to speak to another female about. And for me, the reason why I've had such a strong heart for men, because I think a lot of us men, including myself, have been or are lost. And to restore society, we do need to get men back in the right place. And by being back in the right place is being back mentally and healthy and know that we can build a structure around this, because if the men's not in the right place, the spouse is not going to be right, and children are going to be right, and work's going to be right. I do believe it starts with us. We're not more important. I just believe that when we're not right, everything else falls down.
Yeah. I think that's the good thing with the football as well, because it just gives you that connection, that chance to have some of you time. And I know we all talk about our Tuesday nights, but you know, it's like Rob has said so many times, it's his Friday night.
Yeah.
And it is, you know, it's just a different day of the week.
Yeah.
And we all look forward to it, and just give you that chance to release. Playing sport, it's a good thing to do. And that is part and parcel of well-being, isn't it? Men's well-being.
How long have you been doing it for?
Third year, fourth year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for you now, we're such a close-knit community, but I've never heard of
Well,
it before.
kind of came on the bounce of like COVID and everything shut down, and then one of the ideas that we came up with was doing this thing, just one match, and then it became a couple of matches with November as well. Was just in the sort of thing. So yeah.
So Carl's good. Has it started doing? You said about the men opening up, connecting with each other, but we found that part of that is going back to any of the stereotypical world. So, what a man's position should be in the household, for example, or to help each other out. Is there a part of this where it's going back to the stereotypical sort of values a little bit on that?
No, I don't think so. I think
open up, touch with the feminine side.
Yeah, I suppose if you look back, say, I don't know, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe men would finish work and they go straight down the pub and they drink and they talk to their mates, and then they go back to their wives, and the wives maybe wouldn't hear as much about some of the issues that were going on in their lives. I think in modern times, people have become much more entwined and shared responsibilities. So it's become, we've been pushed together a little bit more. What I feel this is doing is not pushing us back a little bit, but it's giving us different options. It's given us a different kind of pool of people to talk to about specific issues that maybe might be more relevant in that group. If that makes sense.
Yes. I'd say with the Tuesday football, as Rob says, this is Friday night, there is a space for that to release. I don't necessarily believe it's a space to speak about deep and personal things to the group. There's now come through, there's another space like this. And we tried to start it a few years ago. I just felt the group didn't need it. There has to be a need, otherwise why would men want to meet up? And for men, it often needs to be a physical activity to play football, to do this, and then we'll talk afterwards. And just before Christmas, and I watched a speech to a guy about playing football with us. And I just called him and I said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I'm thinking about starting a men's breakfast group. Let me know if you're interested." And he called back, and he leaving a voice note, it took forever. And he said, "Gary, I can't believe the time he was saying about the trouble he's going through with his wife. He's just left the house to get some fresh air." He says, "I so need this." He goes, "Gary, let me know the time and place and I'll be there." And I thought, right, you're my reason for doing this. And then I contacted a few other guys. And they didn't even ask who's going to be there or what's it about. Just said, us dads sharing experiences. And they just said, I'm in. So for me, it showed me that not only was the need there, men were acknowledging it and men wanted it. Because you can't force it. No, you've got to be that place to say, I need this. Our commonality was that we're dads.
Yeah.
They didn't know who was going to be there. We said, we're dads, that's our commonality. And we just share our different experiences, the challenges being a dad.
Yeah, that's a positive step.
Yeah. So, I think the more space we can create like this, from the additional activities to our social group, naturally our families, then I do believe that we'll be tackling mental health in a healthy way.
But it's like, so it affects the community,
100%.
you know,
That is the vision.
people getting together, male or female, whatever side you want.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about the community.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, fantastic.
Very well done.
That's a great initiative. I think you've done a great job, and the sponsorship is a sign now that it's becoming big. You can see when you look at the program that Gary does, and you see all the names, and then you see the sponsors.
I can't take credit to do anything.
Oh, okay. No, you need to- people want to get involved because it's important. But I think going back to what James says, I think it's not just even about men; it's the community aspect that brings to a lot of people is getting people together. And you know, I said I'll stop playing football when I can't run. You might say I can't run now, but I was literally stopped when I cannot physically do it because I love it that much, and I've always loved it. But it's not just about the football. I think it's about the art, you do the raffle and then people win prizes, the kids playing. It's a nice atmosphere to see. Yeah, and that's what people need to remember. It's all about these things. But yeah, we are a pillar of society. And I think if you don't love yourself, you can't love other people. If men aren't focused on what they need to do, then it's going to help the whole family environment for sure. It trickles and filters down, doesn't it? So yeah, no, but great work, guys. Fantastic.
Well, everyone.
There's your promotion. There you go. Yeah, the Manwell Cup.
So thank you for your time, Jeff. Really do appreciate it. And we hope that you learned something today about men coming together and defying the myth that men don't talk. We do talk. More importantly, we need to talk. And it's about creating a safe space for one or two men or more to get together to share life experiences. So the ManWell Cup, 29th of March. Hope you could be there for what we've planned to be a fantastic community event. Thank you.